Hello, Forecaster here again, and we are back for episode 196. And we are still waiting for a bunch of ore to process. The uh, dust compressing system is working nicely. I've plugged the hole back up and I've put in a drawer here, which is my paper input. And the system isn't backstuffed yet because it has a bunch of hoppers down to the packager, which can hold quite a few stacks of paper. So it's going to take a bit of paper to fill that up, if I can even keep up with it. But I'm going to keep inputting paper there. Now, I have a bunch of lights flickering on and off upstairs, uh, furthest from the power supply. Basically, I would assume this is one of the lights that are flickering. We have some flickering going on over here. And that's of course because they aren't receiving enough power. This level indication system over here has shut down, of course, because the microcontrollers aren't receiving enough power either. So I would like to resolve that, and the current bottleneck is basically the CESUs here, because the CESUs can only output 128 EU per tick instead of the 512 of an MFE. So what I would like to do is replace these with MFEs, of course, which is what we are going to do once I've killed this Enderman. They keep putting dirt blocks in my base, as usual, and I hate them so much. There's one over here that I spotted earlier. It's so annoying to find. Pretty sure they placed that one as well. It's really annoying to keep finding dirt blocks in stupid places, and there isn't really anything I can do about it, because they keep teleporting in. Short of flooding my base with water or something, that would keep them out. But yeah, so I want to make a bunch of CSU or MFEs, of course. It's going to require a bunch of energy crystals, because each MFE takes 4 energy crystals to make. And as we know, the energy crystals are made from energium dust, which is made from a variety of gems and such. We need diamonds, obviously. Fortunately, I've added my booster recipes that use rubies, and I've also added one for sapphires, because I used to have a bunch of sapphires. Might not actually have that many anymore. Let's see if there are any lying around. I don't think there are in there. I might have ended up using them all, I guess, unless I put them in here somewhere. I have a bunch of rubies. I have quite a lot of rubies, actually. But it doesn't look like I have that many sapphires anymore. Oh well. Let's see. Going to need a bit more redstone than that. Now, of course, I need 2 CS or MFEs, which means I need 8 energy crystals in total. Let's see. let's do 4 and 4, 8. Not sure how much that is going to produce. I forget what the ratios were. But if I recall correctly, the recipes, my bonus recipes cause there to be an extra energy crystal for every 3 energy crystals I make. So if I make 3 energy crystals, so what I really want is 6 diamond dust. That'll give me 2 sets of 4 in total when using rubies. Of course, it uses quite a bit of rubies, and those aren't super common. They're easy to come by in certain biomes. That was the reactor cooling system. We're going to compress these. And that's actually 2 energy crystals. It might have been 1 bonus energium dust per 4. I think. Maybe. So that was 6 energium dust. Or 6 diamonds. That doesn't seem right. But I'm unsure. So 9 energium dust. And you get 9 from 4 diamonds normally. But with this... right. So you get 3. So you need 3 times this. So you only need 3 diamond dust per energy crystal instead of 4. Yeah, that makes sense. Now I need more diamonds. I might have some in here. Yes, plenty in there. So that is 2. So we need... So for 6 more, we'll get 2 more energy crystals, which is 1 MFE, along with the other stuff. So then we need 2 more sets of those to get up to 8 energy crystals. And then, of course, we also need basic machine casings, which are easy enough to make. Don't have any pre-made iron plates in there. Let's start hammering some of those, rolling, or however that machine produces plates. I would assume, since it has a hammer on it, that it hammers them out like the rolling machine, which actually rolls them, I guess. So, going to want 8 more of those. We're low on power, of course, because we have the ore processing setup running downstairs, using tons of power, as usual. Can take these, put them in here, get a bunch of these, put those in here. That is going to be at least 2 energy crystals, maybe 3 out of that. Not entirely sure. Then we have a bunch more waiting. We also need some gold cable, which we have here. So we need 8 of those in total. There we have enough plates for one machine casing. And then we just need one more crystal, and we'll be able to make one MFE. And there's the first one. Kind of wish there were upgrade kits for these, so you could just upgrade the CSUs into MFEs without moving them. That would be convenient. But I'm basically going to have to drain them, I think, using battery packs, which probably means I shouldn't have charged these, or this. I'm going to put it into one of the machines down here to discharge it again before it's time. Should be enough to do that. So let's put that in there. That should discharge pretty quickly because those machines are constantly running right now. Let's see how this is doing. That is done, so we can make the rest of these. Except we are out of materials for that. And by materials, I mean rubies. That's not good. Could resort to using the normal recipe, I suppose. It would cost me a bit more diamond. So I would rather avoid that if possible, because diamonds are very precious. Although, on the other hand, I could make more diamonds, because I have tons and tons and tons of coal dust. So I'll probably end up doing that, I suppose. So yeah, I actually only need one more diamond, so I guess I can just use that, save these rubies for some other time. Now the proper recipe for energium dust is 4 diamond dust and 5 redstone. Be like that. We'll take that. And that's our final energy crystal. Then we just need to wait for that to be done. Can get rid of these strings in the meantime. And there we go. So now all we need to do is get rid of the CSUs and put the MFEs in their place. And that should increase, it should more than double, I think, or is it double? 128, was it 128? Numbers. Yeah, it's 128. That's 240 plus 16, 36. Okay, so it's 512 is not the double of that. It's more than double the throughput, which is great, because like I said, we have massive problems with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these up. We need to stop the power flowing through. We need to start extracting the power out of the CSUs, because I want to lose as little power as possible. Okay, so that... what? Okay. Weird things going on there. Okay. So that's that completely drained, so you can collect that without losing anything. Because they do keep some charge when you pick them up, but they lose a percentage. And I'd rather avoid that if at all possible. So, the output of that is this way. So we want to output into this average counter, which is currently reading 0. Then we want to turn this to face the correct way. And then we're going to put this facing this way. And then it rotates. And then these are going to show 0 because the power is going straight through and is charging a bunch of things. And you can see that the average is now 512, which means that we are using all of the output. So this was well deserved. Should be able to take these out now, because the new output should be able to keep up with all these machines. And hopefully the lights will stop flickering now as a result of that. I really, really hope, because it causes lag and it also potentially allows mobs to spawn when lights are offline. Looks like we have that flickering has stopped. The lights are charging, which is great. Can probably turn these back on. Not that they do much right now because the reservoir is always full. But hey, I'd like to keep them on anyway. Just because. When I move this, because I'm going to set up a new reservoir, or more reservoirs in my new base, probably around the storage building, maybe. Probably going to replace this thing with another microcontroller that is going to parse these signals into the output for the segment display. Because those integrated circuits, while interesting, are a bit annoying to program, and also it's the fact that you can't properly craft them out of the circuits you make, which is a little bit of a bummer. So I'll probably replace that with a microcontroller, like I said, because that would be a little more interesting, I think, and would feel more proper, because that actually works in survival properly. If you don't recall, we're actually maxing out this line. Might want to upgrade this to a quartz line. Although generally these machines won't draw that much power, I don't think. Oh. That's not where I meant to put that water. I meant for it to go into my mouth. But yeah, that should improve our power supply issues a bit. It hasn't really gotten rid of the bottleneck. It's just alleviated it a bit, because the new bottleneck is still here. It's just at 512 EU per tick instead of 128, so it's significantly improved, but it's still our bottleneck, because we were producing a bunch more power than that, I'm pretty sure. I actually don't know what the production of the reactor is, but I suppose I'll find out if it's higher or lower if we are actually losing power here. Now there is an MFE down there. No. I want the elevator to pick me up before going down there. And that should be outputting a lot more than 512. Um, unless it's empty, of course, in which case it will be outputting power as it gets it. Um, and if we're losing power upstairs, then that obviously... Oh, this is just an MFE. I thought I had an... For some reason, I thought I had an MFSU here. But then, of course, I would need a transformer in between. But we are actually losing power then. So I guess that means that this is producing... Yeah, it's producing 150 EU per tick, which was enough when we had the CSUs throttling the consumption to 128, which is obviously lower than 150. But now we can consume 512. I just went to the surface there, didn't I? Yeah, great. And hitting these on while moving is really difficult. Which means that the reactor and its cooling system is no longer sufficient. So, that means that we are going to run out of power. At least while the ore processing system is running, because it's obviously consuming a lot of power. Now, it might go... The consumption might go down when all the lights have charged. Yeah. So it's gone down quite a bit. But it's still above 150, which is what we are producing. And that's bad. It's pretty bad. It means we're still going to be losing power here. So what I'll probably do is I'll turn on the boiler. And that is going to produce a bunch more power. And this should be all be connected up properly. These are full, so they're not going to consume anything. They don't have any items in them. And all the... I recall disconnecting some of these pipes at some point, but apparently I put them back, so that shouldn't be a problem. This texture is still wrong. It has the gauge indicator on the texture, which is how this used to work, but it's now using a separate an effect renderer. I forget the name for the indicator, which means that there are two, the real one and the one on the block that doesn't actually update anymore. And that is because I'm not using the default textures. I'm using a resource pack, of course, which still has that. I should fix that at some point. So once the boiler heats up, should start seeing more power flowing in, and hopefully it'll be enough to cover our energy usage, which seems to hover around 260-ish. I might want to look into upgrading the reactor to have it produce more heat, and the maximum of the cooling unit is 150 EU per tick, so I would have to add another stack for that, which might consume too much coolant, hot coolant, than the reactor produces, which is why I would also need to upgrade the reactor. Oh, I also made this. I don't think I've shown this. I made a radioisotope heat generator, and this block, of course, accepts these pellets of RTG fuel, and I have, as you can see, I have 5 of them currently. They're made from, pretty sure I've shown this before, but I can show it again a little bit quickly at the end of the episode. They're made using plutonium, which you only get from tiny piles of plutonium, of course, which you only get from processing burnout fuel rods or depleted fuel rods. You get the tiny piles of plutonium from the regular depleted uranium fuel rods. Um, so you need to have a reactor running to actually get these. And of course you can't handle them. You get radiation poisoning if you try to handle them outside of a containment box or without a hazmat suit. But when you put them in a radioisotope heat generator, it will output heat perpetually for no cost. These are not depleted. In reality, they slowly degrade, but it takes such a long time that it's not emulated in Industrial Craft 2. Technically, they would stop working after years and years. But because gamification, they work indefinitely and they produce a small amount of heat, which you can, of course, turn into power directly via a Stirling generator or use to heat stuff like a boiler, for example. I don't know if they can produce enough heat. I forget what they output exactly. Don't know if they can produce enough heat to power a boiler. At least not one generator alone. This is heating up to start producing steam. Let's not forget putting this paper in here. Don't want that running out. I also did something down here, by the way, which I can also show. Let's pop down here. In here, I filled this up with netherrack, and of course there are only 7 pieces, so it's not going to use them in the recipe unless you were to add more. The reason I did that is because I found that... Ow. How did you get in here? I blocked these corridors off with cobblestone. Though apparently I missed these side passages over here. So I didn't look properly, which explains the zombies. No, you stay on that side. Yes, what happened was basically this. It split the stacks, and it's still happening. I don't think there's a whole lot I can do about that. But I discovered that this will not... I can actually demonstrate, because if I add... Let's see. So we have 7 pieces of netherrack here. So 7, 8, 9. If I were to add 2, we would have a total of 9 pieces of netherrack in here. And this accepts 9 items, identical items, to use for a package. But as you can see, it's not using the netherrack. And that's because they are spread out. It will only take 9 items, in this case, that are in a stack. So if I were to add 9 netherracks in the stack, it would take them and create a package. So that is a problem with this, because it's going to need this to be 4 piles of tiny piles of gold dust now. It's not going to count this, but this is just going to sit here and block the slot. So now this hopper is going to have some iron dust in it. And I'm not really sure what to do about that. I don't think there's much I can do. One solution would be to use logistics modules to supply this. But that would be a little more complicated, of course. You need to set up frames and put in all the dusts and tell it to put in 9 or keep 9 of each dust in here, and then have them take from a crate or a chest or something and have this pipe input into that. I mean, it could work. I don't really have pneumatic power over here, though. And it seems kind of overkill to set up an electric compressor just to power 2 logistics modules. Because that's basically all it would be. It would be a single tube block with a logistics module here and one here, and then a chest or something in this block space over here where the stone piece is. And then the rest, there would have to be a compressor here and stuff, and I would connect that to power. There's probably a power line here. There's one right here. So that wouldn't be really be a problem, but then I'd need redstone to regulate the pressure and stuff. And it seems, like I said, a little bit overkill. But yeah, I don't know what to do about that. I don't want to block another slot, because I want this. I would like it to keep one stack of each dust in here. It would be great if I could lock these slots somehow, so that it would only put tiny piles of gold, iron dust in this slot, gold in this slot, lead in this slot, and so on. But I can't do that. So it's going to have to be like this for now. It's not a huge problem. So yeah, that is going to do it for this episode. Let's head upstairs and block this off again so I don't accidentally fall down there. Let's check how the boiler is doing. It's building up some pressure. This should start working. So we have run out of power, which means that our lights are going to start discharging again soon. This power is still flowing. Oh, we have a bunch built up in here apparently. Oh yeah, that's where it would end up, of course. Because these both are outputting 512 into each other, and then this is outputting currently around 300 EU per tick, which is lower, so the power would build up here. So we're actually gaining. Now we're losing power still, so I do need the turbine from the boiler to start up. This should start producing more steam as the heat builds up, of course. But yeah, so with that, I will see you in the next episode. Hi! Welcome to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please click the like button. If you didn't, click the dislike button, or leave a comment telling me either way, because any sort of user engagement makes YouTube more likely to show the video in searches or suggestions. Now, did you know that I have a page on my website that has a list of all of the shows I have on YouTube, even past ones, along with their respective publishing schedules, as well as a list of all of the past videos that is searchable by series, tags, or title. And I also have a subscription system that is entirely separate from YouTube's that allow you to subscribe to specific shows from me, as well as stream notifications, such as when I schedule or start a stream. So if that sounds useful, do go and check that out. There are links in the description.